And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Toronto Raptors episode. So, as you can imagine, we are going to talk about the all time starting five for the Toronto Raptors, as short as their history may be. So, as far as news goes, there's only four of us here today. Wade had a situation arise at his house, a little bit of a homeowner's issue. And we hope that gets taken care of and he can join us next week. But at this point, it's just the four of us, so let's get started. Drew, who is your Raptors all-time starting point guard?
Kyle Lowry.
He's also mine, and he's also Wade's.
Not me.
Not me either.
All right.
Well, Drew, what you got for old Kyle Lowry?
Well, he's a six-time All-Star. He's one-time All-NBA. He got a title in Toronto. He averaged 17 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 0.3 blocks. While I've been alive, Kyle Lowry's been one of the players I think of when the Toronto Raptors come around, just because of him and DeMar DeRozan and their time in Toronto. So, I always thought, and he's got pretty good numbers while he was in Toronto. I mean, he started somewhere else, now he's ending his career somewhere else. So, I think Kyle Lowry is a solid pick for the Raptors at point guard.
Yeah, he made some all-star teams there. He made an all-NBA. Like you said, he won a championship. I mean, one of his nicknames is Mr. Raptor. I do believe he holds the record for most games played in franchise history.
I would say, whenever I think of the Raptors, for me personally, I know it's different for other people, but I think of him and DeMar DeRozan playing together probably in Toronto for me.
I mean, I have a soft spot for the Vince T-Mac Raptors.
Well, yeah, so that would be more of yours, but like.
But yes, I mean, the Kyle Lowry, DeRozan Raptors they're really the best team. I think they have like two of the three best team records for a season.
I know they won like
history.
60 games the one year.
Yeah, they were the number one seed in the East and won 60 games one year.
They just ran into their kryptonite every year, LeBron.
Yeah.
The whole team just took a crap whenever.
Indeed. And Lowry was always a bulldog defensively. I mean, still kind of is as an older guy now in Miami. All right. Well, does anybody else have anything to add on Lowry before we move on?
No.
All right. Uncle Doug, who was your point guard?
My point guard is Damon Stoudemire.
Yes, mine too.
Mighty Mouse.
Yeah. Say 19.6 points, 4.1 boards, 8.8 assists, and 1.5 steals. So he was right there with Kyle. A little behind him on rebounds, but ahead of him in points and assists, and about the same at steals. I like Stoudemire.
I do too. That's the one I know. Like Drew brought up, he knows Kyle Lowry. We grew up with Damon Stoudemire, so that's the dude I relate to.
He's only there for 3 years.
5 actually.
5.
Yeah.
3?
It says on Basketball Reference only 3. I don't know. I was
just
like, dang.
Yeah, he says he played his first 3 seasons there.
And then partway through the third year, he went to Portland.
Yeah.
And then he comes back.
It's not on here if he did.
Oh. I don't know where I got that, but I had him down for 5. Because he comes back. Okay.
I mean, he was part of those Portland teams that the Lakers had those big dogfights with in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was their point guard.
I know what I did. I looked at, they have that TOT for total for those 2 years where I thought those were Toronto years.
Gotcha.
Which the one was a partial Toronto year. And I counted it twice. So, yeah, 3 instead of. So.
Yeah, Stoudemire was he was all they had when he played in Toronto. That team was pretty awful when he was there. It was just stunk that he didn't stick around for like, I think it was just like 1, maybe 2 seasons before Vince got there. And they could have played together.
Yeah, it's that the Raptors earlier with some of their players and timing is not the best. Like
Yeah.
they keep missing people, like leaving or missing people's primes before they started, and it's
Yeah.
like they could have had a pretty solid team if everyone would stick together for a while.
But nobody wants to be in Canada.
Especially then. It doesn't seem to be as big a deal now.
They
Is
may
it?
have fixed some of the tax problems, but back then there was definitely some tax disadvantages.
Yeah.
And also when you were getting paid in the Canadian dollars,
Mm.
which that wouldn't.
When it doesn't even equal a dollar here.
It
I
did
mean,
not.
you're
I think
losing
it was
money.
like 75 cents on the
Yeah.
dollar
Yeah.
at the time.
I mean, yeah, you're
Oh,
losing.
wow.
They had to get that fixed, get that in their contract that they'd be paid in American
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
All right. Well, does anybody have anything to add on old Mighty Mouse before we move on?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
All right. Ray, who is your shooting guard?
Well, I think because I got another player there, but I think I'm going to switch him. So DeMar DeRozan.
He's also mine and Wade's.
He's
Yeah.
also mine.
He's mine.
Oh, we're
Right.
unanimous on DeMar.
What do you have to tell us on tomorrow, Ray?
19.7 points, 4.1 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and a steal. Quality shooting guard. Was there for the title run.
No.
Oh no, he got traded, huh?
Right.
Yeah,
that's
Kawhi, yeah.
Kawhi. Yeah.
But I guess before that, him and Lowry was putting in quality minutes up there, and they were making a name for themselves in Toronto.
I always felt bad for him. He spent all those years in Toronto, and then when it finally got the title, he didn't get to be there.
His
Yeah.
first year away, it
Yeah.
was when he had the
Because
title. Yeah.
LeBron leaves. Like,
Yeah, that was bad.
By the way, if you take out just his rookie season, so 8 seasons in Toronto, his points per game goes up to 21.
yeah, his first year only averages like 8 or
Yeah.
something like that.
That's true.
I mean, DeMar's biggest weakness has always been shooting. He's a mid-range assassin, but he can't shoot from deep.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's a pretty nice ball player.
I mean, he was working it a little bit last year in Chicago's, yeah.
The last 2 years in Chicago, I mean, not this last season, but the season before in Chicago, he averaged 28 points a game.
Yeah, so he's still putting up some numbers.
Yeah, and this year he averaged 24. So, yeah, he's been a nice player for quite a while.
Yeah. Good quality player. I'll give him that one.
All right. Well, that was everybody's shooting guard.
Yeah.
So unanimous shooting guard there. That's good. That's good. All right. Well, I guess we're around to me for small forward, and my small forward will be none other than Vince Carter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So Wade's all-time favorite player makes a second team. Imagine that. But Wade also had him, by the way. Thought that was probably obvious.
Yeah, we figured Wade would have him here.
So in 7 seasons in Toronto, Vince put up 23 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, a steal, and a block. He shot 44% from the field, 38% from 3, and 78% from the line. So much more efficient than anybody else we've talked about thus far, especially the point guards. The most efficient player we've talked about so far, and probably the most dynamic. I mean, this is, I consider the greatest dunker of all time, but he also shot 38% from 3. And this is also young Vince, so he's very much in his prime. He's very, very freaky athletic, and just a pretty nice all-around offensive player. He can get very disinterested on defense, but a very nice offensive player.
The Toronto Raptor.
Yeah. And I always kind of liked the nickname Vinsanity. I always thought it was a cool
Yeah.
nickname.
Yeah, and then they rearranged it and gave it to, what was that one dude's name? Linsanity?
Oh, Jeremy Lin.
Yeah.
Jeremy Lin. That was stupid.
Yeah, All right, well, I guess we're back around to Drew. Drew, who is your power forward?
I went with old Siakam right now for the Raptors.
As did I, and so did Wade.
So I got thinking about it. And I was like, do I want to put him or probably my center, which I don't want. We probably don't know who it's going to be, but I want to put him at power forward. I want to put Siakam. I just kind of looking at some of the centers for Toronto. I was like, nah, I think I'm just going to go with two smaller. I mean, not smaller guys, but not like your traditional center, I guess is. I mean, he can play it, but yeah, I thought I'd go with Siakam. 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. He was on the championship team. He got Most Improved Player for his career. He's 17 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, almost a steal, almost a block. After his first couple years in the league, he didn't really do much, but then he started getting a little bit better, and then the title happened. And then after that, the Raptors really haven't been as good. So, I mean, you haven't been hearing much for him, but, I mean, he's still – I mean, his points per game, everything's going to keep going up because, I mean, he's only been in the league for like 7 years. So
The last 5 years, he's been 21 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal on 48% from the field, 34% from three. He's drastically improved after his first 2 years in the league. He was pretty much just a guy that came off the bench and gave him some energy minutes those first couple years and didn't put up any stats. But after that, he's drastically improved.
I mean, that title year, I mean, yes, we talk about Kawhi hitting the shot, like Kyle Lowry and them, but Siakam, I think people kind of forget, he was a big part in them winning that, I think.
What year did they win the title?
19. I mean, that's when we first kind of started hearing about him was during that playoff run and that finals run.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he just kind of kept going after that. He kept skyrocketing.
Yeah, I mean, he was the second best player on that championship team that year, which is not something we can really say much in Toronto.
No, yeah.
So, Doug, you didn't have Siakam?
Nope.
Okay. I think I can read your mind. I think I know where you're going.
No, he wasn't my guy.
All right.
So, and you brought up the playoffs, Drew. I just want to go back to it. In the first round of that year, he averaged 22 and 8. In the second round, he averaged 19 and 6. In the Eastern Conference Finals, he averaged 14 and 6, and then in the finals, he averaged 19 and 7. So he had a really nice, solid.
I would say,
run there.
that was more than what he did during the regular seasons. I mean, yeah, I think he stepped up to help them. I mean, obviously Kawhi did, but I think.
Yep. All right. Well, Uncle Doug, who would be your power forward?
Chris Bosh.
Yes, mine too.
He's my center.
He's my center.
And Wade's center.
Yeah, Bosh has to be on the team.
I agree.
Yeah, he's another one.
He's just amazing.
He's unanimous, just at 2 different positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 seasons in Toronto. 20.2 points, 9.4 rebounds, 2.2 assists, almost a steal, and 1.2 blocks.
Pretty efficiently, 49%. He only shot 29% from 3, but 79% from the line.
All rookie team, 11-time All-Star. He was All NBA, and that was while he was in Toronto.
Yep, and he's a Hall of Famer now.
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, Chris is definitely in. We just got to decide where we're going to put him.
All right, well, I guess as we're around to Ray. Ray, who is your center?
Marcus Camby.
All right.
I thought about Marcus.
I guess my intuition was wrong.
Well, I thought maybe you'd support my center. I told Drew, I said, I bet Ray likes me.
Well, I might have to trade up. But no, I like him as just a center. His blocks are almost 3 blocks a game. 13.5, 6.8 rebounds. A nice, center to put in there. I mean, Siakam's probably might be the way to go, but Camby, I thought, I know him. He put in work there for a good 5-6 year stretch. So I put him there.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked Marcus Camby. Um, this really isn't the point in his career that I think of him. You know, this
Probably
is
New
his,
York, huh?
honestly, first I do think of him in New York some, but I also think of him in Denver quite a bit.
See, I don't remember him in Denver.
Yeah, that's his longest stop. He's there for 6 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
No.
he's in Toronto for the first 2 years of his career, his rookie year and the next year, and he really just wasn't the same. I mean, he really just played completely differently and everything. He was a different player at that point in his career.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember him just Toronto and New York. I must have totally dozed off those years he was in Denver.
All right, well, Uncle Doug, who would be your center?
Antonio Davis.
Ooh, okay. Let me hear
Spent
him.
6 years in Toronto. Only 13 points a game, but over 9 rebounds a game. 1.7 assists, 1.3 blocks. Not super flashy, but very consistent,
Yes.
hardworking.
Yes, he was.
I considered Camby. I just couldn't make up my mind, so I went with Antonio because of the rebounding.
Yeah.
All right, so we have both wing positions already decided. Shooting guard and small forward are DeMar DeRozan and Vince Carter. We need to decide between point guards, and Chris Bosh is on the team,
Yeah.
so he will be at one of the big spots. We just have to decide who will be opposite him and where. So shall we talk about our point guards before we mess with the big men?
Sure.
All right. So Drew, why'd you go with Lowry over Stoudemire?
I guess I just kind of think of Lowry a little bit more, a little bit better, and I don't know. I think with Lowry, his defense too. I mean, he was, especially those years in Toronto. I mean, like you said, he still plays defense now in Miami, but I mean, those years in Toronto, I mean, he's not the tallest, but he's stocky. I mean, he'll hold his own against, I think, any point guard for them, help them on defense. So,
Yeah, he's like a Marcus Smart type, where he's very physical and he's bulky and you know gets into guys. But yeah, I always liked Lowry.
Yeah.
Ray, why'd you go with Stoudemire?
I guess pretty much the one I grew up with watching. I mean, I don't down Kyle Lowry at all. I know he's a good player, but I always like Damon Stoudemire. And I mean, the Portland years are really good too. But I don't know. I just between Toronto and Portland, I don't know. I kind of think of more of a Raptors sometimes. I think.
Well, he played in Toronto when they actually had the cool uniforms with the Raptor on it.
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
I
really cool
I hated
uniform.
when they took away the actual Raptor on
Me
the
too.
uniform. They had some of the coolest uniforms.
It really did.
Well, I think what we're looking at here is Lowry will give you more defense. Mighty Mouse, as good as he was just so damn tiny he couldn't guard anybody. He'll give you a couple more points, couple more assists, a little less efficiently. So I guess that's what we're looking at
Okay.
as far as our point guards go. If anybody else has any thoughts on that?
Huh.
Sorry, I'm trying to punch up stuff here.
What's the accolade like between the two?
I mean, Stoudemire's Rookie of the Year. Lowry has a handful of All-Star teams and an All-NBA and a championship.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we can't really wave away the title, I guess.
Yeah, it's
It's hard to overlook.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're the starting point guard for the franchise's only championship.
Because then he played a role. It's not like he was like just like a point guard out there just passing and not doing anything. I mean, Larry scored. He assisted. He played defense.
Yeah.
The year they won the title, he averaged 14 points, 8 assists.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess I can go to Kyle.
Yeah. I mean, we're just.
I wanted to talk about Damon.
I feel like at a certain point we're kind of splitting hairs. Like they both offer a few things, the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
Kyle was there longer,
Yeah.
especially after I figured out that I had him down for more years than.
Yeah, I'll get on board with that. I mean, you can't say no to that. I mean, really.
I did like Mighty Mouse back in the day, though.
Yeah.
I had a handful of his basketball cards and stuff.
All right, so we got 3 positions decided and a 4th person.
Yeah.
So now we just got to decide
Between Siakam, Camby, and Davis. All right, so can I go here, Ray? I feel like Antonio Davis is our best rebounder.
Okay.
So like there's his thing is like he's the defense rebound guy. But Camby doesn't really hold up in any of it. Like he doesn't rebound in his, which is I find weird, by the way.
Yeah, I did too. And pretty much the only reason I put him there is because he's a shot blocker at like almost 3 blocks a game.
He is a shot blocker, yes.
So I figured if we throw him in there, block some shots, grab a couple boards, throw it out to Bosch, let Bosch pass it around a little bit. Because I mean, when it comes down to it, it's probably going to come down to Siakam probably being in the spot. But I mean, they're all really splitting hairs, similar players almost.
The way I looked at it was Siakam outscores him, out rebounds him, and is way more efficient than him. So I just don't know what Camby's give. Is it a bit different point in Camby's career? Like I said, New York Camby and Denver Camby put up much better numbers.
Right. Yeah. I just figured they'd need a little bit of shot blocking in there because Bosch is going to be popping in and out. Not like Miami Bosch, but
No, definitely not like Miami Bosch. He'll definitely see more in the paint. Toronto.
I mean, here's my thoughts in all actuality. No matter who we put, this team's gonna be a first round exit.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, we don't need the.
But other than Vince, we don't really have like that give the ball to him, get out of the way type scorer. So it's like I feel like we need all the scoring we can get on this team.
okay.
And that's why I ended up going with the Siakam Bosch front court.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I went with my different power forward and center because I'm like, these 2 guys would give us the most points and we're going to need something in Toronto. Because the Raptors just didn't have like a good enough center that like scored enough. Like their traditional.
Yeah, and that is true. I said I went with Davis because of the rebounding because he only scored like 13 points a game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not his strong suit anywhere he went.
All right, I can go Siakam Bosch.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, we could have gone with Bargnani. I mean, he averaged 15 points and 4 rebounds.
Yeah.
There's your 7-foot center.
Now, wasn't there another big? Was Valanciunas? up
Yeah,
there?
Valanciunas was there. But
Yeah.
he only averaged, I'm looking at it
12
right
and
now.
8.
Yeah,
12
12
and
and 8. Is that?
And I like Valanciunas, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, but he only got like 1 block.
Oh, really?
yeah, he only averages 1 block a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pelican Valanciunas is better than Toronto Valanciunas?
Yeah, because they traded him in like.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, probably, but he doesn't block shots in
No.
New Orleans either.
Oh.
Oh, it says on here he's only 6'11". He looks way bigger than that. His
Well-
nickname's Big Science. Okay, this is terrible. His nickname's JV.
Oh,
It's
wow.
his initials.
I know, but you can't call it JV.
The Lithuanian Lightning.
Uh,
Oh, my gosh.
All right, so we got this figured out here, guys?
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say Siakam. Yeah.
All right, well, that would make our Raptors starting five: Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Vince Carter, Siakam, and Chris Bosh. Pascal Siakam, by the way. So let's ask a few questions here. This team versus Charlotte.
I got trying to think of Charlotte. That was a while ago.
I think Charlotte runs through him.
Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning,
Kemba Walker,
Kevin Walker.
and who was the small forward?
Glenn Rice.
Glenn Rice,
Yeah,
And what, Eddie Jones?
Eddie Jones.
I think I'm gonna take Charlotte.
I think
So
yeah,
are we saying this is the worst team in the
I
in
would
the whole thing?
Yeah, I think
Because Charlotte is who we have used as our
Yeah.
like bottom team.
Yeah, I don't know. Just some of those Charlotte guys, I feel like could. I feel like Kimba. I mean, we saw Kimba and Kyle play each other, so I don't know. And then shooting guards were what we say, Glenn Rice or
Yeah,
Yeah, say Kimba and Lowry. I think Kimba's fine. Yeah,
Kim's a
DeRozan
faster.
and
Glenn Rice are both just gonna shoot the
Eddie.
crap out of it.
Eddie Jones a little slash.
I think Vince will get Glenn, but I think it'd be a good battle.
Larry Johnson will probably.
Well, neither one of the big guys can guard Larry Johnson.
No.
He would cave their chests in.
No, it doesn't matter if they switch Bosh on too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And then if Siakam's guarding Alonzo Mourning, I mean
Yeah,
Alonzo.
that ain't happening.
Yeah, Charlotte's got a big guy advantage. Yeah, I think Charlotte would win actually. So Toronto might be the bottom, which I wasn't honestly expecting from them really.
So what team in the East do we think was the worst before this? I guess Charlotte. I mean,
Charlotte. I gotta try and think of.
Minnesota. Or,
No, Minnesota's in the West.
yeah. Indiana, maybe. Ray just shakes his
I'm
head.
not gonna say that. No. Knicks, maybe. No.
I like the Knicks, to be honest. I think I don't know. Other than Charlotte, I don't know.
Cleveland doesn't have the greatest.
Yeah,
roster.
Cleveland wasn't like.
Yeah, but Cleveland would roll this team.
I mean, yeah, they would.
So I think we're just saying that this team's the worst all-time starting five in the NBA, and
Yeah,
it's not all that close.
yeah, because the only other one really close is Atlanta, and they got at least
Atlanta's
couple
got a
good
couple,
players.
yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's look at Atlanta. Who we got a point guard in Atlanta?
Pistol Pete,
Oh, yeah, okay. And then it's
Joe Johnson,
Dominique.
Mr. Pettit, and then Dikembe.
I mean, the real weakness here is Siakam would just run circles around Bob
Aw.
Pettit. He'd catch the ball, look at him, be like, "I'm gonna go left," and then dunk. And Bob Pettit 5 minutes later would be like, "You're gonna go where?" And then after they're running down the other end of the floor,
Get out of here.
Yeah, but Kimba meet him at the rim blocking.
Or Dominique come out of nowhere.
Tommy doesn't play defense. Come on.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, I guess that'll wrap up our Raptors portion of this episode and move us into what if. So Ray's turn to come up with a what if. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping this is a doozy.
All right, y'all ready for this one?
Yep.
Indeed.
All right. Let's see. How do I want to start this? Okay, this is the 2011 year. The Pacers traded Kawhi Leonard and another pick for George Hill. The previous year, the Pacers drafted Paul George. The Pacers were up and coming and battled the LeBron-led Miami Heat for a few years, but could never get past the Heat. So the question is, what if the Pacers didn't trade for George Hill? So I'm going to read out this roster, 2011-2012 roster. They had Barbosa, Collinson, Foster, George, Granger, Tyler Hansbrough, Roy Hibbert, George Hill, Dante Jones, A.J. Price, Lance, and David West. So if they would have not traded for Kawhi, This is the projected lineups that I got. Darren Collison, Paul George, Granger, West, and Hibbert in the starting lineup. The bench would have been Price, Stevenson, Kawhi, Hansbrough, and Foster, because that would have been Leonard's first year. So now let's fast forward to 2013-2014. Granger plays 29 games and gets traded to the Clippers. And that opened up for Paul George to step up to his full potential. Pacers lose the Eastern Conference Finals to the Heat 4-2. The Heat goes on to the finals and lose to a Kawhi Leonard who had a breakout series and wins Finals MVP. Here's the lineup for the 23-24 potential lineup with Kawhi. Roy Hibbert, David West, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and either C.J. Watson or Lance Stevenson at a point. Now, does coaching matter if they would have traded for George Hill or Kawhi Leonard? Either way, I don't think so, because Frank Vogel was a defensive-minded coach. That's what Kawhi was, so I don't think coaching would have mattered if he would have stayed in San Antonio or went to Indiana. Both are small market teams, so not real big expectations. Like the player development would have been slower off. He would have been able to conform, and there would have been high expectations. So, what do you guys think?
You know, I thought about this one when I was coming up with mine, whether they wouldn't have made this trade, because I mean that's always.
And they traded for Kawhi. It was 2 picks, the Kawhi and another pick that draft for George Hill.
Now, that being said, I don't think the George Hill Kawhi not happening, that trade not happening. I don't think it plays immediate dividends. I
No.
don't think the 2011-2012 season it makes any difference at all.
No, you're going to have to wait till.
Kawhi's not really Kawhi for a few years. Paul George really isn't Paul George for a couple more years.
Right.
But that being said, like, what, 2 years after this deal?
Yeah, 2014.
Like, Paul George is playing LeBron head to head in the Eastern Conference playoffs every year, and they're losing in 6 and 7 games, and he has no sidekick to go against Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh.
Right.
No,
He has Kawhi Leonard.
His sidekicks were Lance Stevenson, David West, and Roy Hibbert.
Yeah.
And Paul, because at first it was the Hawks that were kind of fighting LeBron, and then it became the Pacers for those couple of years in a row. I mean the 2013 NBA Conference Finals. This is the Eastern Conference Finals. The Heat win in 7 games. Takes them 7 games to beat this team. LeBron averages 29, 7, and 5, so a nice series. Dwayne Wade only averages 15, 5, and 4. Ooh.
And Bosh averages 11 and 4. Bosh always struggled against this team because West and Hibbert were so damn physical.
Yeah,
they're also bigger too.
And then they had big guys coming off the bench like Psycho T, Jeff Foster, Ian Mahimi.
By the way, in this
Scola.
series, Roy Hibbert averaged 22 points and 10 rebounds. A guy that's not really known for the score.
Yeah.
Paul George averaged 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. David West averaged 16 points, 9 rebounds. So I think if you take George Hill out and put Kawhi Leonard in, and you're looking at guys like Darren Collison and DJ Augustine probably running the point for this team, and Stevenson probably moves to the bench to be these 2 guys we're talking about, Kawhi and Paul George, predominant backup, and you still have Hibbert and David West with guys like Hansborough and Mahimi coming off the bench. It's
interesting to think about.
It's very interesting to think about.
Just because it was already so close. We're not talking about like the Pacers didn't even make it there. They were literally 1 game away from making the finals. They could have.
Yeah.
Now with Kawhi on the Pacers is where the Spurs
Yeah,
at.
then you wonder what happens as Tim Duncan and the Spurs teams get that last one. And then how the Spurs look after Tim Duncan retires. Are they still how they are right now? Bad.
It's.
don't
I
know.
mean, where I think it gets really interesting is actually much later. Like when Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are 5 or 6 years into their career.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to start paying people, especially if they somehow won one.
Well, yeah, you would have to pay people, but I mean, when they're on your team, you can pay whatever you want. So they would just give them both supermaxes and they'd move on about their day.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem.
Paying 2 guys isn't that big a deal.
But my thing is like they're both superstars by that point. Or as
Yeah.
close to, like they're both averaging like mid-20s. They're both averaging like 6 or 7 rebounds, 5 assists. They're both, all NBA or all defense, sometimes all NBA. It's very short-lived for Kawhi because then he starts getting hurt all the time.
I mean, yeah, by 2014, they were banging fucking players, Like fucking, I think it was like year 5. I think Paul George was averaging like 23 points a game.
I mean, and also another thing to think about with Kawhi is if he's not with the Spurs, does he ever start having injury problems? Do we think about Kawhi of how we think Kawhi now? Because Pop was the one that with his knee and then resting him.
And does Toronto ever get a title?
Yeah, Toronto doesn't
If they
get
don't
their
have
title.
Kawhi, I don't think they're
So
winning.
does Kawhi actually play a bunch of games now since he's in Indiana? So
No, like Kawhi's a bitch. That's just who he is. I mean, like let's be honest. Like the Spurs tried to make him come back and play, and he just wouldn't do it.
Right.
It's not like the Grant Hill situation where they made him come back and play injured, and we could say, hey, that's why you don't play anymore is because they screwed your ankle up. Kawhi just left and wouldn't talk to the team and was all, poor me, woe is me bullshit, and has never come back. Like he plays when he wants to and doesn't play when he doesn't want to, and
he's just not a very sociable person either. I mean,
yeah.
he just.
That's very true.
I don't know. At least you don't have Zaza stepping on his leg.
Yeah, that might change.
So I mean,
that
at
a lot.
least he gets hurt again later, but I mean, at least you don't have that problem. You don't have that knee injury, I guess, happen. So I mean, you're looking at
What year did Paul George leave the Spurs or the Pacers? I mean,
it was like let's see,
probably 20.
16?
Yeah, I was thinking 16 or 17.
I think. Because I think Paul was only there for 6 years.
Because when he's with the Thunder, he's with the Thunder for a couple years during like the Warriors' heyday.
yeah, he leaves after the 16-17 season. Which is where, like, then you have to look at like something like that, like the 16-17 season. They would have both probably been there. They're both averaging mid-20s by that point.
Yeah.
But they probably don't. Paul George probably doesn't ask out if he's playing with Kawhi Leonard.
No.
Right.
Well, see, there was also a rumor there going around for a while that Paul George was sleeping around with Roy Hibbert's wife. So, I mean, there was some side drama going on with that. So,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I think if they're at that time, if they're going to make the finals, they're going to have to beat the Warriors. Do you think Paul George and them could have beat? I mean, they're going to have to beat LeBron first in Cleveland with Kyrie and Kevin Love.
Dude, with them lockdown defenders in the backcourt, you're fucking right.
Which Paul George and Kawhi, either one, do a pretty good job with LeBron.
16-17 though, that's post Hibbert, right?
Uh,
Hibbert was probably done by then, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know
What
who
year
else
was
is
it?
on that Pacers
17?
roster. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure, obviously, if they have Kawhi and they're looking like they've been making runs the last couple of years, they're going to get some other people. You know what I'm saying? But, like, I don't
Let's
know.
see. Yeah, he's out by 17. Looks like we have
It's like soon you got
Al Jefferson for a minute, the center, and Miles Turner.
Oh, boy. Old Miles Turner,
Turner's
Alex.
1 year in. So, and Thaddeus is there playing power forward. I mean, not the greatest roster, but still
Yeah,
decent
but that
players.
roster wouldn't look like that if you had Kawhi and Paul George.
No,
it
they
didn't.
would. Other people would come. They would go get out other people.
Rodney Stuckey.
Well, I don't have a problem saying this team could beat LeBron's Cavs or beat the pre-KD Warriors.
They won't beat the KD Warriors.
No, I don't think so either. But I'm not also willing to say that they would.
No. Again, it's going to be like how it is now with the Clippers. Can they both stay healthy?
Well,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's kind of what we see now. I mean, we see them play together now. And what's the biggest problem with them? They can't ever stay on the floor together.
That's true. And then Paul George, he started having injury problems. It was, let me see what
It's after he broke his leg in
after the Olympics.
Oh,
The Olympics or World
it
Championships.
was one of the, yeah, it was one
He
of the,
played-
It was where he got
his
it
foot
caught
got-
under the stanchion.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
nasty.
That was nasty.
He played-
Oh.
Yeah. He played 6 games in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
So that's when it started.
that's year.
But then he came back and played
81.
75 games at the minimum for the next 4 seasons.
I would say
It's only been since he's been in Clippers that he hasn't played.
Yeah.
so. Is that the Kawhi effect on it? Well, if Kawhi's not going to play, why should I play?
That's probably true.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's. I do like it though. They're already together in Indiana though.
It's tough. I mean, without Kawhi, they were
trying to think
going toe to toe.
who else could they have gotten? Or I guess if they're still there, who else on these Pacers?
Well, it all depends because we like we've talked before, they've never had a point guard, really, except for Mark Jackson, really.
Is Halliburton a point guard or is he a shooting guard?
Oh, Halliburton's the point
That's
guard.
what I thought. But where'd you guys draft him at?
They didn't. They traded for him.
We
Oh.
They
traded
traded the bonus for him.
Yeah.
That would never happen. Yeah.
And probably by then we're getting late in the draft anyway, so we're not drafting high anymore.
No, yeah, I would say yeah, you won't.
All right, so what's everybody's final thoughts here on these few questions? Do you think Indiana gets the championship?
I'm gonna say they're gonna make it to. I think it's definitely. I think they'll definitely make at least one, but I don't know if they'll. I don't know. It's just hard, like we've said before. Like some of those other ones when we
What
said
else is
beating the
around
Spurs. Like yeah, what else is around them? What do other teams look like after? I mean, we're pretty sure if they make the finals, they're gonna have to play.
Yeah.
Probably the Warriors at this point.
I feel like they've got a chance. I feel like they'll be in the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe the finals. But if Kawhi's there, I definitely think Toronto loses theirs,
Yes.
and the Spurs may very well lose theirs. So there's 2 titles that are up for grabs.
Yeah, that's true.
So
So I guess in the well, at least in the Spurs one, then you're asking who comes out of the East.
Right.
Like, does the Heat still come out of the East, or can this team beat the Heat at that point?
and then did the
Yeah.
Thunder come out of the West again? Does Dirk come out again, or who else?
That's true.
Does
too.
that Grizzlies team come out? I mean,
Yeah.
because at that time before the Warriors kind of got there, you had the Thunder, you had that Grizzlies team.
And it
What about
shakes up a
Houston?
lot of things.
Yeah.
What was Houston doing? Because Harden was on Houston by then, wasn't he?
Yeah. I would say you had Portland. You'd have the Clippers. Chris Paul and them might have actually made one in Clipperland,
yeah.
maybe. Without, I mean, probably not. But I mean, they were just another team that I'm thinking of that were in the playoffs at that time.
Wow. Drew back there giving sarcastic props to the Clippers.
Normally, I'm the freaking hater.
Well, we don't seem very sure about any of it.
I think it could be a huge success, or I think it could be kind of a big flop too. I think it just depends on what else they get put around the team and whether they all stay healthy.
Well, I don't think it would be a big flop because I think no matter whether they get championships or not, this would probably be the most successful run in Pacers history.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Because they'd be contending for the Eastern Conference title every year,
Right.
which they've never done in their
They're going
history.
to be very relevant for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And like you say, I think Eastern Conference Finals, pushing for the finals. And it's all going to come down to the pieces they put around them.
Yeah.
And
which is so hard to tell with.
Right, because Hibbert and West and those guys would have gotten older by the time these two were hitting their superstardom.
Right.
If that was more lined up, if these guys would have been superstars like 2 years into the league, then I'd probably go yes, they win a championship because Hibbert and West and those guys were all good.
Like this year we're looking at now, Hibbert's gone.
Yeah,
all together, and it's just. I mean, they could definitely pick up another center at this point. I mean,
we had Mahimi. I mean, he wasn't the best, but he was really athletic and could run the floor.
yeah, he leaves and wins a championship with Dallas though.
Yeah. But he was young when we had him, so he was running all over the place. But I mean, this was probably our best shots since the Malice and the Palace years. If we would have kept Kawhi. Because we had a squad then, too.
Yeah, very true. Well, does anybody else have anything to add?
No, I think that's it. Good question, right?
Thanks.
Well, I want to bring something up real quick before we go off the air. Cause I kind of wish Wade was here for this, but I heard some very interesting things in the news this week. I thought they were pretty blasphemous, but then people were co-signing on it, so I want to see what this room thinks. Ray's reaction will be interesting. I think Uncle Doug's reaction will be interesting.
You don't think mine will be?
Yeah, we'll see. Not as much as theirs, I don't think. And I have strong feelings about it, and neither one of these players are my favorite players or anything. But I watched the interview where Gilbert Arenas was interviewing Steph Curry.
Oh, my God.
And Steph Curry said he was the greatest point guard of all time.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And then I watched the next morning Stephen A. Smith say, well, why is everybody upset about it? He's telling the truth. He is the greatest point guard of all time. And then this morning, Stephen A. says, oh, I have a text message from none other than Michael Jordan, who said, no, sir. He is not better than Magic Johnson. And I don't even have Steph at number 2 on a point guard list, like some other people. But I think at this point it's kind of blasphemous to say he's better than Magic.
Yeah. Steph is more of a combo guard than a point guard. I mean, Ray has always said that he's not a point guard. No. We put him at point guard because he has made himself into a good ball handler.
Yes, he has.
He is nowhere near the passer that Magic. Now, Magic is nowhere near the shooter that Steph is. But when you're looking at point guards, are you looking at shooting or passing? Point guard runs your offense, handles the ball, and distributes. And there's no way that Steph is anywhere near the distributor that Magic Johnson was.
And that's the same point Mad Dog brought up today, too.
Well, here's my thing. Let me ask you a question. If Steph Curry is not scoring the basketball, what does he provide to his team?
Exactly, and that was the biggest point.
You're right.
If Magic Johnson is not scoring the basketball, what does he provide to his team?
Everything.
Rebounding.
And world-class playmaking.
I mean, he still has double-doubles when he doesn't score.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Magic had triple-doubles at the wazoo.
Right. I mean, both guys are subpar defenders. So it's not like you're trying to compare one of them to Gary Payton or something, and you could talk about their world-class defense. Like, both guys are subpar defenders, so you can't give either one of them really a big nod in that area. But let's be honest, Steph is a one-trick pony. He's out there to do one thing and one thing only, that's put the ball in the basket.
Yep.
Shout out to Mark.
He's really good at it, though. That's why.
No, he is good at it. But I just watched it in the Sacramento series last year. He had a game where he couldn't score, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He might as well go on and sit on the bench. Like it didn't do anything. Like, he doesn't rebound. He's not a great passer. He's not a defender. I
mean, he tries on defense, but he just can't. He's just not.
he's 6'2" or 6'3", but he's so slightly built that they just
And he's not explosive.
right.
You know, it's not like he's
Because
out
of the
there
ankle
leaping.
thing
Yeah.
and- yeah.
Yeah, his ankles.
And Magic's not super explosive, but
He's 6'9".
you weren't gonna move him.
Yeah.
And they were all like, well, Curry changed the game. And I'm like, not
He
for the
did.
better. He didn't change it for the better.
No, it's definitely worse. But I would say, okay, you're right. Steph Curry changed the game. Without Magic Johnson, there is no game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
Now, I think Magic and Steph would make a great duo.
they probably would.
You know, Magic handling the ball, penetrate, dish out to Steph. Steph's going to get a bunch of good looks.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that Steph is the greater point guard.
And that fool didn't even hesitate on the interview. He was like, who's the best point guard? Well, me.
You want somebody to have that confidence, but
Yeah.
it's just
Come on,
not-
man.
I
Have a
mean, come
little
on.
bit of humility here.
I don't know. I think, well, first off, I'm just going to go here real quick. There's a reason that the entire NBA is entering the record books right now. Like, we got guys that are just average players that are like, oh, I'm on all-time lists.
Mhm.
It's because the game has never been easier to score in.
No.
It's never been easier to score in.
We're seeing record high in points. No one plays defense anymore, at all. They just don't try. They don't.
Well, and you can't.
It's just gotten so easy to score. You don't have 7-footers
You
in the
can't
lane
lay a hand on
anymore.
them.
Yep.
They call so many fouls.
They shoot so many dang free throws.
And, you know,
It's just.
It's just so different. Such
it
a-
is. It is different.
I just don't know. But Steph Curry is definitely not the best.
Which will be an interesting discussion that we'll probably have numerous times when we get to our tournament, which
Yeah.
is coming up in a few weeks. It will be quite interesting to compare teams with old school players to teams with more new school players.
To the middle guys.
And so, yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting tournament, I think.
Yes, I would agree. We have Utah next week, Washington the week after, and then we will have a or a couple tournament episodes, depending on how well it goes for us. Speaking of the future, we have our next topic to announce. After we're finished with this basketball topic, so after the tournament, we are going to return to football as planned, and the topic will be the 5 greatest players at each position. So I think it'll be a fun thing for us to go over. I think it'll cause quite a few arguments and disagreements, as we're gonna disagree. So that being said, we'll get out of here for the day. Thanks for tuning in for this Toronto Raptors episode. We would appreciate you tuning in next week for our Utah Jazz episode. And thanks for listening to Sports the NEMO Way.